every day we have things to talk about. And, before I start telling you about this story, I kind of was like humming and hawing, wavering a little bit. Do I really want to do this story? But you know what? I said, yeah, because I kind of want your input. I really want to know how you guys feel when I mention this story and how it was handled, because sometimes you need a sounding board. And I know how I feel about it. I know what was my gut feeling when I first heard about this story. And I'm going to give you all the details if you don't know about it. And then you can come to your own conclusion. And then you can let me know, because I want you to give me your comments in the chat box. Love that. Dominic will definitely share that. And don't forget, at the end of the program, we will have questions and I will attempt to answer as many as we have time for. So again, thanks for being here. So that story that I'm talking about, it was stunning to read at the time. Yeah. I mean, it came out at noon Eastern, Saturday, July 25th. I want you to remember the date, July 25th, noon Eastern. And what it was, the San Francisco Niners had a very, it was a scary post. They released a statement that read that their head coach, Kyle Shanahan, had been involved in a serious car accident. Thank goodness he survived. Thank goodness he was okay. Thank goodness the injuries were non-life threatening. All of that. And the statement went on to say simply that Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis, and that assistant coach Chris Forrester and team coordinators will take over Kyle Shanahan's coaching duties while he recovers and until he returns to 100%. And he will be on the sideline for the season opener in Melbourne, Australia, against the Rams, when the Niners go against the Rams. That statement, again, posted noon Eastern, Saturday, July 25th. So again, happy that Kyle Shanahan was okay. But then just a minute later, because I'm addicted to my phone, Adam Schefter, ESPN's great insider, Adam Schefter, puts out his own post. But he not only gave the information about the accident, he gave details that even the Niners did not put in their initial statement just a minute earlier. I mean, details of the injuries, that Shanahan suffered a broken nose, a broken hand, multiple ribs were broken, and he also suffered a severe concussion and needed 40 stitches, the result of this accident. He also, Adam Schefter said in the post, the driver of the other car was not seriously injured. And also, there were police reports that said drugs and alcohol were not involved in connection with this accident involving Kyle Shanahan, in which he suffered serious injuries, but non-life-threatening. Okay, here's the kind of head-shaking part and the odd part. And me, as someone that's been in the business for decades, then we found out this accident occurred back on July 14th. Again, we first knew about this. The statement came out July 25th at noon. Then Adam Schefter came out with his report a minute later. The actual accident took place 11 days earlier. Now, I don't get it. I mean, first of all, in a minute's time, Adam Schefter was able to type all those extra details that even the Niners did not release a minute earlier. But the bigger picture is, did he know? And I'm not just putting it on Adam Schefter. Was he like hiding these details until he got the green light from the San Francisco 49ers that he could put out this post on social media to give out all the details? It was kind of bizarre. But we live, this is the head shaking part for me, as someone that's been in the business for decades. We live in a TMZ world. Have you noticed? I mean, we've lived in this world, this reactive world, for many, many years now, where if something happens involving some kind of famous person, you know about it. Poor Kyle Shanahan, my goodness, he was in a serious car crash and we didn't know until 11 days later. I'm not talking about the next day or was delayed 2 days, maybe for his family and people like that. And maybe, who knows, if it was touch and go sort of situation. I get all that. But it was declared it wasn't in those first day or 48 hours. 11 days went by and nobody knew about it. Now, what about the other driver? We haven't heard from the other driver, which seems kind of bizarre in this TMZ type world we live in. And again, I'm saying it over and over again. I am very happy that nothing seriously happened to Kyle Shanahan and he's going to be back on the sideline. This is scary. We've all been in close calls involving automobiles. And if you haven't, you're very lucky. And it could happen so innocently. But I have to give credit, what got me thinking, I thought it was odd, but I didn't. And this is where I was like, oh, do I mention this on the show on Monday? It was Saturday, it was mentioned on the show. And then I see Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, and even Tony Farmer, that independent journalist who you may like or not like. He's the one that broke that Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini story. They were just asking questions that I'm asking. And that's what, people in the media do or supposed to do, ask questions to try to, kind of figure the story out. Why was there an 11-day gap? See, if I was with the 49ers, and no one's asked for my opinion on the 49ers, and no one's asked for my opinion from the NFL, but if I was from the 49ers organization or the NFL organization of any way in public relations, I would want to get ahead of it. Why do I want to risk any kind of speculation out there if someone did find out something within this 11-day period that everybody was like crickets and nobody knew anything about it? What happens if people were coming out with, fake stories or fake news and speculating? In PR, you want to get ahead of the story. And I feel if they did that to assure everyone all fans of the Niners, all NFL fans, all of us sports fans who just care about Kyle Shanahan's health, get ahead of it and say, he's going to be fine. He's going to make a complete recovery. You would think they would have wanted to. And that was just very, very puzzling to me. I mean, I don't know what you think. I want to know what you think. And then I was hearing on Mike Florio's Pro Football Talk podcast with Chris Sims that Adam Schefter is a good friend of the family of the Shanahans. He wrote a book with Kyle's dad, Mike Shanahan. And you have to wonder, why didn't Adam step away from the situation if he felt he was too close to the situation, if he couldn't do his job? Or was he listening to the Niners and what they wanted to do instead of him doing his job, which is sharing the information? Or maybe he wasn't allowed to. And so that's where Mike Florio was going. And I have to agree with that. I think that has to be looked into, because there's really a gray area now with what is an insider and what is a journalist and the role of the beat reporter. When you look, and I did look on social media to see what many of these beat reporters for the 49ers were saying, they didn't know anything about this accident. They were left in the dark. And that's sort of puzzling to me. Now, on that Mike Florio Pro Football Talk show on Monday, his co-host is Chris Sims. Chris Sims has made no secret. He and Kyle Shanahan are buddies. Their families are close. And Chris, to his credit, put his best friend first. Chris Sims is not an insider. Chris Sims is not a journalist. Chris Sims is not a reporter. So his priority in his mind was to his friend Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan's privacy. And I get that. But Chris Sims was telling Mike Florio today on that podcast, he said he turned to his wife as each day went by after he heard about the accident and after he was able to talk to his buddy Kyle Shanahan to see that he's okay. And he and his wife were wondering, oh, wow, I can't believe this hasn't come out yet. As each day went by of that 11-day period, that we all didn't know that Kyle Shanahan was involved in this awful accident. So even Chris Sims was like, this is kind of weird. So I don't know. This is why I had to bounce it off you. I mean, is it just common courtesy by the Niners to protect their value, protect the coach? If this was a player, this was another thing I thought of. If this happened to one of their players, I feel we would have known about this. Maybe because the player performs on the field and it would affect him being at training camp and performing and maybe not be able to play in these games. I don't know. But if it was a player, I feel the Niners would have said something sooner about it. I just don't get it. Every day, things like this, there's just like a gray area. So why should anyone be treated differently? And the other aspect, which I don't want to forget, the accident occurred in Palo Alto near the 49ers training facility. First responders, police showed up to the accident, thank goodness. Got Kyle Shanahan to the hospital quickly. They did a great job. But don't they have to fill out public reports about accidents and things? And were they hiding something? They're used to covering the Niners and taking care of them, so to speak, and watching the facility and watching what goes in and out of that facility. Is there something there to look at? Or should is this like a big nothing burger? Is this no big deal? But why should people be treated differently? Hey, God forbid you got into a car accident. God forbid I got into a car accident. God forbid anybody in your family did. They're not treated. Things are not covered up. I don't know if it was, but things are not kept quiet is probably a better way of saying it. It's mystifying to me. And I know I'm not the only one, but I know there's a bunch of you out there who probably think I'm crazy. And they're like, Linda, this is nothing. Let the man recover and do all this and whatever. But I'm sorry. I grew up in journalism. Been in this business. I look to ask questions. I want to get clarity. I want more information. And you got to wonder, when the Niners finally let us all in on this, it was day one of the Niners training camp, official opening of the training camp. Let's say the official opening of the training camp was next week. Were we going to find out next week as opposed to just 11 days later? So let me know what you think. But the most important thing that Kyle Shanahan is going to be back at 100%. But I couldn't ignore the way this thing went down.
All right. This is more of a comment, but I think it's an interesting perspective. I want to get your thoughts on this too here, Linda. Rolando, thank you for the question or comment. What's up from Texas, Linda? If he was a Cowboys coach, meaning Kyle Shanahan, it would be everywhere. Great job. Yeah. What do you think? If it was, who's their current coach right now? Jeez, it's all over the
Schottenheimer.
Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? It would be more headlines for sure.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in New York and being a New York native, Dom, I mean, and you in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, yep. I just think there are certain places and cities where the media would have found this out. The local media would have somehow, some way. They can't all be on vacation in San Francisco at the time that this happened.
Right.
Unless it's sad, but unless nowadays beat reporters are waiting for that information to be fed to them instead of going out and digging for the information. I mean, I still don't get it. It's still puzzling, but I agree with our Ronaldo who asked that question. Was it Ronaldo or Ronald?
Yeah, it was Rolando.
Rolando, sorry.
Yep.
We're butchering his name, but I agree with him. In a place like Dallas, where the Cowboys are everything, and I mean everything, next to college football, of course, but everything.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, someone would have known and something would have been leaked. Right or wrong, that is the world we live in. Like I said, you may not like it, but other places, other people involved, it would have been out there.
It's so weird to think. I have a journalism degree too, but it's journalism 101 when these kind of aspects come out. 11 days it was on the lam for. You didn't hear about it. And now it comes out and you're just like, what? We'd be more concerned for Kyle Shanahan's health, and we still are, obviously. But it's just like with the 11-day wait after coming from that, it's just like, okay, why did you wait that long? Exactly.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, Dom, and I think this is an important point, and it's worth repeating. You want to get ahead of stories before people. They didn't know if something was going to be leaked. They don't know. before others decide to make their own story,
right,
or put out details that aren't true. So you want to get ahead of it. And the Niners, I felt, whether it's the Niners or the NFL, they were really rolling the dice here, hoping it would stay quiet.